The year is 1952. Austin, a British company that would merge with Morris, another British car company, to form British Motor Corporation Limited, which lasted until about 1967, and then it would transform into British Leyland. Anyway, they would introduce a new B-Series engine that would retain the same 1200cc displacement, superficially appeared the same as the A-Series, which came 1 year prior. Both the A-Series and B-Series engines were derived from the 1200cc flathead. In the B-Series engine, the cylinder centers were spaced more generously apart, which led to changes in the crankshaft and its bearing journals. Most of the engines in this family use three main bearings, which are the steel-backed type, single camshaft mounted deep in the bowels of this engine on the left-hand side. The camshaft opens and closes the overhead valve arrangement via push rods and rocker arms, which are chain-driven from the crankshaft itself. Later versions of this engine would use a tensioner that rides the chain that was self-adjusting. The distributor and the oil pump are mounted low, driven by pinion shafts off the camshaft. On the MGA cars, the pinion also drove the tachometer. Some applications, pinions were used to drive mechanical fuel pumps. Fuel and exhaust are administered on the same side. This engine has a Siamese design of inlet and exhaust ports. The exhaust exits three ports. The center port, the Siamese one, serves two cylinders in the middle, which creates kind of a hot spot, which could lead to head gasket issues. A cross-flow cylinder head was implemented. The combustion chamber is heart-shaped. Block is of a single casting with cylinders and crankcase as a single unit of tried and true cast iron. Introduced in 1952, 1199.6cc, oftentimes just referred to as 1200cc overhead valve inline 4, 1.2 liters. It was good for anywhere between 39 to 42 horsepower at 4,300 RPM, 62 pound-feet or 84 newton meters around 2,400 RPM with a bore of 2.58 inches and a stroke of 3.5 inches. Compression was 8.30 to 1. It could be found in the 1954 through 56 Morris Cowley or the Austin A40 Cambridge from 52 to 54. Could also be found in the Nash Metropolitan as well as Massey Harris combines. In 1953, the bore would increase, bringing overall displacement to 1489cc inline 4, 1.5 liters. It was good for anywhere between 55 to 72 horsepower at 4,300 RPM, 82 pound-feet or 111 newton meters around 2,400 RPM with a bore of 2.9 inches and a stroke of 3.5 inches. Compression was 8.30 to 1. Years this engine was used, 1953 through 1971. It's important to note that there was a diesel variant of this engine. The gasoline version could be found in the Nash Metropolitan as well as the 1954 through 1971 Morris Oxford, as well as the Morris J2 half-ton van, as well as many other vehicles. In 1958, bore was increased again, bringing displacement to 1,588cc. Inline overhead valve, 4-cylinder, 1.6 liters. It was good for 80 horsepower at 5,600 RPM. 87 pound-feet or 118 newton meters at 3,800 RPM. Bore of 3 inches, stroke of 3.5 inches. Compression is the same, 8.30 to 1. It's important to note that they made an extremely rare twin overhead cam version of this engine. The twin cam version made 108 horsepower at 6,700 RPM. The twin cam version was found in the MGAs. The boring regular version 1588cc could be found in the 59 through 61 MGA 1600, the 1960 through 62 TVR Grand Tura, as well as the 1959 through 1961 Elva Courier, as well as many other cars. This engine even saw marine application in the Navigator 1600. In 1961, they would take the smallest sliver, minutely bore this engine, bringing overall displacement to 1622 cc because it still retained the 1.6 liter displacement. This engine was called the Mark II engine. This engine would be the base for a six-cylinder that the Australian market would get, but we'll get to that. 1622cc overhead valve inline 4 1.6 liter Mark II. It makes anywhere between 78 to 93 horsepower at 5,500 RPM, 97 pound-feet, or 132 newton meters around 4,000 RPM with a bore of 3 inches and a stroke of 3.5 inches. Years this engine was used, 1961 through 1975. It could be found in the 1961 through 1962 MGA Mark II, as well as the 1961 through 1967 Austin 152J2 half-ton truck, and was even offered in other vehicles as well. In 1962, the engine was enlarged yet again by a bore increase, bringing overall displacement to 1798 cubic inch displacement overhead valve, inline 4, 1.8 liters, with a single carburetor, 85 horsepower, with two carburetors, 94 horsepower, 5,500 RPM, up to 104 pound-feet or 141 newton meters around 4,000 RPM with a bore of 3.16 inches and a stroke of 3.5 inches. Years 1962, and it's important to note that this engine started off life with 3 main bearing crankshaft. In 1964, BMC would add 2 more main bearings, bringing the crankshaft bearing count to 5 main bearings, and it would stay like that until the end of its production cycle. Years this engine was used, 1962 through 1980. It could be found in the 1962 through 1980 MGB, as well as Austin 1800 from 64 through 75, Grand Chura TVR 64 through 67, as well as could be found in many other cars. Remember back to the 1622cc inline 4-cylinder. The Australian market, they needed a 6-cylinder to power their cars, so they would use the 1622cc inline 4 and they would add 2 more cylinders to it. They would call this unit the Blue Streak, not to get confused with the Grand Blue Streak, 2 totally different animals. Developed by BMC in Australia, and it was only available for the Australian market. It was 2433cc or 148.4 cubic inch displacement, inline, overhead valve 6, 2.4 liters. It was good for anywhere between 80 to 85 horsepower, 5,000 RPM, 123 pound-feet, or 167 newton meters, around 3,800 RPM, with a bore of 3.2 inches and a stroke of 3.5 inches. Years this engine was used, 1962 through 1965. It could be found in the Austin Freeway. It's worth mentioning a 2-liter prototype was made somewhere between 1964 and 1965 by BMC engine man Stan Johnson. Power output was 106 horsepower. It featured Siamese cylinder bores and offset conrods. Those modifications were made to use the same block. Unfortunately, the engine never went past the production stage. The B-Series would be produced until being faded out for the BLO series and the BMC E-Series. But as they say, those are other engine episodes for another day. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today. Which one of these would you rather have? 1953 Nash Metropolitan or 1962 Wolseley 2480, and I apologize if I said that wrong, or 1963 Morris J2. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. On to the second scenario, 1959 MGA or 1964 TVR Grand Chura or 1965 MGB. Once again, go to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this one. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. Until next time, toodaloo!